Hi, Dad.
Hi, Simon.
Could you tell me a little bit about what it was like being young in the 80s in Denmark?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about how it was to be young for me in the 80s in Denmark. Well, in the mid 80s, I was working in a clothing store, fashion store, men's fashion, where I got my education. So of course I was a lot into fashion at that time. Well, you can't see that now, but I really was in the 80s. It was huge. And I also was into a lot of music. I was doing festivals, and I was arranging festivals, and I was arranging concerts, and I was organizing the rebuilding of an old factory building, and we rebuilt it into a venue, a concert venue with a lot of facilities for rock musicians, and so on. So I was a lot into music, and I was a lot into fashion. I was a lot into sports. At that time, I was into sports. I played a lot of volleyball at that time as well.
What kind of
So
music would you listen to at the time?
at that time, I was listening to a lot of Danish music because there was a lot of Danish music going on at that time. But also, I was working as a DJ, or a part-time DJ at that time as well. So, of course, we had a lot of international influences in the taste of music. There was a lot of music coming from the UK. It was the New Romantics as a UK wave of music, and then of course we had the German influence because we were living in this area of Denmark, close to Germany. So, and I had a friend who was attending a German school, so we got influence from Germany as well. They call it Neue Deutsche Welle, and we had a lot of that music as well. So
And just for people who don't speak German, what does Neue Deutsche Welle mean?
that means the new German wave.
Perfect. So yeah, you grew up in an area of Denmark that was very close to Germany.
Yeah.
Can you remember when the Berlin Wall fell? Like, how did that feel in Denmark?
Well, I think it was kind of huge. Well, the Cold War wasn't. It was just there. I didn't have so much political focus on the Cold War at that time. But when it started with the new waves from Soviet Union with the perestroika and glasnost, and especially when the wall came down in Berlin in in Germany, it was pretty intense and pretty close. I remember watching on TV when we saw when they opened the border by accident, I think, when they opened the border and all those trappies from East Berlin drew to West Berlin. It was pretty intense at that time. And of course, I remember I had a friend who went to Berlin. I didn't have money for it and time for it because I was working. But he went to Berlin to see the concert with Pink Floyd, The Wall, at the Wall. It was pretty amazing, and that leads us back to the music because music was a part of it. We had Wind of Change was one of the with this, what they call the Scorpions. Wind of Change, listening to the Wind of Change, which is about that time when there was change in the wind, with the perestroika, with the glasnost, with the wall coming down, with the fall of well, when they fell, these when East Germany fell, and that was something that was huge in my youth.
Yeah, I can imagine. What kind of clothes did you wear, and what kind of clothes did you sell at the time in the late 80s?
What kind of clothes? Well, It was at the time there was an American TV show called Miami Vice. It was pastels like pink and baby blue and all kind of that, and it was with those huge shoulder pads in the jackets as well, and our hair was like, oh, it was crazy. It was pretty close to the new romantic style, Spandau Ballet, Duran Duran, and you know all those kind of bands from that time. It, it was much inspired by those. There was a Danish brand called Matinic, Ball, and Lacoste, and so on. We had leather ties, thin leather ties, and I had them in every color you could get them in. I had around 50, 60 ties made out of leather, and I had, when I stopped in the shop, I think I had 50 pair of jeans. It was crazy at that time. I spent so much money on fashion.
I can imagine. Well, thanks for talking with me, and thanks for telling the guys a little bit about what it was like being young in the 80s in Europe.
Yeah, thank
See you soon.
Look forward to see you back here in Denmark, and greetings to all your friends over there in Kazakhstan.
Klar. До свидания.
До свидания.